Hey guys, I am Big and Scary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time with eGDosenfettP in the top right corner playing the blue Protoss, and in the bottom left we have Noman, which would be your red Zerg, and we are on, I think this is Daybreak. I believe it's Daybreak. It's one of the new maps. It's got a narrow choke leading into the natural, a medium choke leading out into the common ground. You've got a smaller choke right here leading down into a large open area, but the choke is on a medium ramp that you've got destructible debris that you can take out of. So you see a lot of players, especially Protoss like eGDosenfettP, who will incorporate that into a wall off here and then go ahead and take the third and then do another wall off there. Kind of opens up the rest of the base, allowing you not to have to worry too much about the multiple pathways into it. You can still wall off right here. A lot of Terrans do that. I've actually seen a Zerg do it with some Evo chambers. It was very clever. But you got a medium rush distance between the two bases. You can kind of cut that down by proxy pylons. We can see that Dosenfett's shaping up to do the Forge Fast Expand, but with that large rush distance, you can do a greedy build like Dosenfett's going to do, probably going to throw down a Nexus sooner or later. Noman is not grabbing any early gas. He is saving up for a pool, though, which now goes down. Just make sure that he's playing a little bit more, I guess passive would be the term, being safe, not being super greedy and grabbing that hatch first, which seems to be very much in vogue right now. Dosenfettp does succeed in losing his probe. Got to be careful about getting that surround whenever you go into the mineral lines, but it's inevitable. You're going to have to take your eyes off the probe eventually to go back and throw down the Forge and then throw down the Nexus, and the 1 second of inattentiveness can really cost you a probe. And in the long scheme of things, it's not the biggest deal. He already saw the spawning pool was down. He can assume that a hatchery's coming down shortly thereafter. Noman's Overlord is just now arriving at the front door. He's going to see the Forge, know that the Nexus is following suit. You can see Dozen has the money. So neither player is going to be able to succeed in holding off the two base. It'll be interesting to see if Noman is going to go ahead and grab the third super fast and go for a roach play, which can be pretty powerful on this, and then what tech path Dosenfettp decides to go on. Once we see him grab his gas will really be the deciding factor on that guild. No gas out of Noman yet. Usually you see one gas to get up the Zergling speed, and that's usually a good sign for some early aggression, but without that gas, it looks like Noman is going to be going for some higher tech once he gets a good saturation down on his natural. Dosenfettp succeeds in finishing off his wall off. He's got a gateway as well as a secondary pylon. No cybernetics core down yet. Just wanted to speed up on that pylon because the spawning pool is done and we can see 4 Zerglings are on the way. Don't complete that wall off. The photon cannon's not 100% effective at denying the run by, and once those Zergs get into the probe line, the Zerglings can be a spot of bother. Once the gateway finishes up, though, I expect we'll see a cybernetics core go down shortly. Double gas being grabbed now by Dosenfettp. No gas out of Noman just yet. Still no research. The hatchery is done. We can see just a single queen is on the way, and a lot of money saved up by Noman. He's not supply blocked. I don't know why he isn't spending the money. There we go. Four drones. One queen's already out. Can see another one coming out at the natural, and there's why he was saving the money. He is grabbing that third. A wise choice. Any aggression that's coming out of eGDosenfettP is going to be delayed. He just now getting the cybernetics core. There's no double gateway down. The Zealot's going to be used just to complete that wall off, but beyond that, I don't expect to see anything super aggressive out of Dosenfettp for the next 4 minutes or so. With the double gas mining, though, and no upgrades started just yet, we'll see once that ticks over 100 marks if he elects to get the level 1 ground upgrade, or if he elects to throw down a higher tech building. That'll be the really big differential in the build. A nice place to see if you see a Robo Bay coming out next, then we can expect some heavy ground play, or it could be a Stargate. Yeah, Stargate right now next to the cybernetics core, so that's great. This map is kind of circuitous in the pathways that you have to take. There's a lot of chokes, and so using a Stargate in the air can be very effective, especially if you're versus a Zerg that has 3 bases. The air defense that a Zerg can deal early on is actually very good. You've got queens, you've got spores, you've got hydralisks, but with the distance that separates the third from the second, it means that a lot of phoenixes or void rays that come out of that build can be very effective, especially if the Void Rays come into the natural and charge up on the destructible rocks before they actually hit the natural. They can do some devastating damage. As long as this doesn't go scouted, we can see a Overlord is coming up from Noman just on the south side of this natural. If he decides to suicide that Overlord in, he'll get an excellent scout, see exactly what's going on, see that the double gas is taken down at the natural, and know that there's some shenanigans going up, even if he's a little bit more passive and positions his Overlord so he can see the gas, but not necessarily the Stargate. He'll know that there's higher tech coming up and that he needs to be aware of that. Fortunately for Noman, he is getting that Evo chamber up, but it looks like Dosenfett is going to succeed in getting off his first Void Ray as it just now finishes, as the Suicide Overlord comes in and see that there's nothing being built in the main base. Fleet Beacon going down on the far right side, so if this Suicide Overlord makes it all the way down to see that Fleet Beacon, he's going to know for sure that a Stargate's going up. Excellent vision by Dosenfett, knowing that the Overlord's pathway is going to bring him in there, so he cancels it. Unfortunately, he exposes his Void Ray to take down that Overlord. I would have just let it go. I would have worked in a Stalker. You've got a Cybernetics core that you can warp in with that, and that Overlord was just going to see that there were two gateways. But still, he succeeded in taking it down. It's not the biggest loss in the world. This Void Ray was going to be exposed any minute now. And he definitely wanted to stop it so that it couldn't continually scout and eventually see that Fleet Beacon. Another Phoenix coming out, seeing the Overlord. It's going to go down. The Void Ray begins to wake its way out. Let's check back with Noman, see what he's got. He's got a Queen at every expansion. And another Queen coming out, hopefully. Well, the Hydralisk Den is also coming out, so more static defenses will be built shortly. Some Spore Crawlers. I see one's on the production tab. It's down by the third, which is probably for the best. It's the most exposed. And we've got two Queens there also, so he's expecting some aggression from the Void Rays, which is to be expected. The Creep is almost connecting the third. It is connecting the natural, so that's good. He's in a good position to deny the Phoenix and Void Ray harassment, but it seems that Dosenfett is rushing for a mothership. This is bonkers. You got a 6-gate, and I don't even know what to call the build. It looks like he's pouring all of his minerals into a bunch of Zealots. He's got a Templar Archive coming out, so maybe Zealot Archon with a mothership on top of it, but Nomad should get a Spire out any minute now. Get those Corruptors on the field, because as far delayed as this push comes, he knows now, because the Void Ray hasn't come into his base, he knows that it's not like a hyper aggression with Void Ray. He knows that the Void Ray itself is not going to do a bunch of damage, so he's got to be worried about carriers, or maybe he's thinking about that mothership. All the scouting has been denied. I would get that Spire up, and I'd start getting Corruptors out in case I see 5 carriers on the battlefield. I'd also be poking at the front door. There's really been no aggression out of Nomad. At the same time, he is pulling out these Zerglings, just going to poke up and see if there's been any activity down at the third, and then maybe poke at the front door, which is very secured. We can see that first Archon getting hemmed up on the pylon. That's going to have to go down in order for it to get out, and the mothership finally clears, so we're going to see some battles sooner or later. Infestor Pit coming down. If we can see some mind control, he can use that mothership. But what Nomad's going to have to be careful with is with this composition, as the Archon numbers rise and as the Zealots get their charge out, this unit composition is going to be incredibly effective if the oh, I missed a battle. Oh well. If the mothership throws down the vortex, if the Zerg army gets caught up into that vortex, and then you have a Archon toilet, I believe is the term, those Archons will go in and do their massive splash damage as they're leaving that vortex, and that can be absolutely devastating to this army composition. Here we go. This Archon's perfectly positioned in the front. The Zealots charging in from the side. Nomad knows to retreat, but those really slow Hydralisks are going to get hemmed up and caught by the fast Zealots. All these Zerglings are going to go down. These Hydralisks again have to keep retreating, but Dosenfett doesn't want to overcommit. He just wants to take his third. Noman reacting appropriately, grabbing his fourth at the same time, and also bringing in 4 Overseers. You can see on the production tab. Pathogen Glands going to be finished. We'll expect to see a lot of Infestors out, because their fungal growth can really hem up the mobility of the army, and also a single mind control can really turn the tide of a battle very quickly. Hydralisks are a good choice, but we saw that without roaches to protect them, the Zerglings are just going to absolutely melt away, and we can see roaches are being added in. Instead of this composition, I probably would have gone a Zergling Infestor with some Corruptors in the air just to focus down that mothership. Really, you can't have a fight with this unit composition with that mothership up. It's just going to end terribly. A good vortex will go down on the Hydralisks, and that'll be the absolute end of it. The Spire has just been started, so it's not going to finish for too long. Noman wants to deny this third completely as it's just now getting up. He's got to know that the army's waiting for him there. He'll have to bring in plenty of detection. He does have 3. And the Void Ray's coming down just to the 4th to poke around some static defenses, and a Queen already pooping out the creep. So this Void Ray is not going to be 100% successful. It looks like Nomad's getting into position, though, to push in against these cloaked units, and he's really in for a nasty surprise. Zerglings poke up at the front door, push back without losing too many units as soon as that army is exposed. But now that the detection comes in, it looks like Nomad's going to have to be careful if the vortex goes down. All of the units just charging in. This is going to be devastating. 199 over 200, but only about 170, say about 70 supplies in there. So we'll see exactly what happens to the supply after it goes down. Everything pops out. The Void Rays, the Archons are just right on top of that 199 down to 130 in just a matter of seconds. Absolutely devastating loss, but remember, he's up on 4 base. It looks like he killed that Void Ray as we were digging around down there. So he's on 4 base. He's getting that 5th, but unfortunately he doesn't have a standing army that's capable of preventing this. Infestors could be used to kind of slow this army down with their fungal growths, holding everything back, and with mind control, making it so that that mothership's not as effective. But nothing can beat Corruptors opting to get the Greater Spire out instead of spending all the gas he has on those Corruptors. Finally, 6 Corruptors coming out, which is very good, but unfortunately this ground army, even if it's not backed by a mothership, is a force to be reckoned with. It's just pouring into these roaches, which are very good against this army composition, don't get me wrong, but there's awful lot of units there. It's going to have to continually kite back, waiting for those Corruptors to finish as the mothership does join the battle. There's no detection, so both units are going to have to pull back. I think Dosenfett could afford to take down this 3rd right now, but he's playing very cautiously. He knows that with the limited number of bases he's operating on, it's going to be difficult for him to resupply very quickly. The Roach is coming in, helping with destroying the hatchery, it looks like. A little bit of missed micro there, but another massive vortex goes down, capturing all of those, forcing everything to pull back. We do have 6 Corruptors on the scene. It doesn't look like... Oh, that's pretty neat. The vortex doesn't succeed in pulling down the Overseers as they get morphed on. I've never seen that before. That's really cool. Archons coming out again. They're cloaked, and those roaches aren't doing enough damage. The Overseer's finally finishing just in time to see that everybody's dead. That 3rd does go down. I don't think Dosenfett's going to push his advantage here. More static defenses, a lot of those Corruptors, which it looks like they're being morphed into Broodlords, which I don't agree with. This mothership needs to go down before the Broodlords can do damage on the ground. There's an awful lot of money being floated by Nomad, which he can be using to get those Corruptors out. Those Corruptors are what needs to happen, and it's not happening right now. And unfortunately, Dosenfett is capable of just walking right over to this 5th and crushing it, because Nomad's not capable of fielding the army composition he needs to. 4 Corruptors coming out. They're going to target down, deciding to retreat into the vortex. Not the best decision, as they had already succeeded in taking down half of the mothership's shields. The Roaches are going to get chased down by the Archons. A couple went into the vortex, now joining. This army is going to pop right out on top of those Archons. Excellent storms coming down. Roaches, not the most defenseless against storms, but they're pretty defenseless against this sheer number of units. We can see +2 on the ground weapons, 2-2 for the Roaches, but even with the upgrade advantage, I'm afraid Nomad is really on the back foot right now. He just hasn't been able to answer back with enough Corruptors to take out the mothership, which the Vortex are just crushing him. Yeah, those Archons are incredibly powerful, but without the mothership throwing down those vortexes, the Archons wouldn't be doing nearly as much damage. He needs to just catch it unprepared, but look at his army. If there were Hydras in here, that mothership would already be dead, but there's no anti-air. Nomad just doesn't have the unit composition he needs to, and he's back on 3 bases. His main is almost It's not even mined out. It's just not saturated at all because so many probes have died down at the other base. And Dosenfett has a full-on death ball. He's got 7 corruptors coming on for Nomad, but even if those 7 corruptors come out and do succeed in taking down the mothership, I think this army has been so cost-effective for so long that Nomad's not going to be capable of fielding an army capable of destroying Dosenfett's standing forces. He is kiting them back away from the mothership, no longer being supported there. He's going to be much more cost-effective at dealing them down, but so many Stalkers and Archons are down in the 3rd. That's going to go down. The Harvester count falling rapidly for Nomad. It's almost at half, and Dosenfett has succeeded in taking his force, so Nomad decides to bow out. Fantastic play by Dosenfett. I think Nomad lost it rather than Dosen winning it, because if Nomad had made enough corruptors, I think the tide of many of those battles would have gone totally differently, because we saw that it was 100% reliant on that vortex in dealing with it. I think Nomad had a superior army at some times, but because he didn't have that anti-air, he couldn't take down the mothership. It's very ballsy to go for that mothership super early. I don't think I've seen that early ever. Thank you for posting this. Thank you for watching this. If you guys have a comment, positive, negative, whatever, you could leave me a comment, tell me how I'm doing, and if you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or Reddit one way or another. I will see you guys later. I am big and scary. Bye.